Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my channel. I am HollyLynora, and in today's video we are doing the Flawless Full Coverage Foundation Routine Drugstore Edition. Dun dun dun. I don't know. I am giving you my tips and tricks on how to get that Instagram flawless skin without the filter. So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe, join my beauty YouTube family. I hope you enjoy the video. Okay guys, so the first step to having that Instagram flawless skin is definitely going to be prepping your skin. I've already done my skincare. That is a daily thing for me, 2 times a day, morning and night. I cannot express to you how important it is. If you don't have a good base, if you don't have just a good starting point, then the rest of your makeup is going to reflect that, and it's not going to look good, and then you're going to get frustrated, and then you're going to come back at me saying that it didn't work. Well, the base is so important. If you don't have a good foundation to start with, I'm telling you, just the rest is going to be a poop fest. So even if you have oily skin, go ahead and use those products that are going to hydrate your skin. If you have dry skin, exfoliate your face. Flakes of skin from the dryness do not look good covered up with foundation. In fact, they don't get covered up. It looks more obvious. And we're over here going, hey, you got something on your face. And they're like, oh, it's just my skin. So skincare. Before your makeup, please, before your makeup. The next thing that is also really important, and it gets looked over all the time. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Primer. Please prime your face. If you are painting a room, you don't just go and paint it. You have to prime it first. You have to prep it. You have to get it ready. And it's the same thing when dealing with your skin and foundation. This is the Maybelline Master Prime. This one is the Blur and Pore Minimizer. It is inexpensive. I have people that come up to me and say, it won't stay, or it's separating, or whatever. Oh, are you using a primer? What primer do you use? Oh, I don't. Okay. Well, I'm telling you now, use that primer, girl. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot at all. We're just going to squeeze a small amount onto the fingertips. You can barely see that because it's clear. It's a gel-like substance. I'm going to warm it up in my fingers. And we're just going to press it / massage it into the skin. And you definitely want to focus on places where you've noticed your makeup separates, where it starts to crease, where it looks blotchy, or it's just not staying put. That's where you want to focus your primer. For example, I'm very porous right here, and so I'm definitely going to put primer right there, because that is a pore minimizing primer. So I'm actually going to add a little extra in that spot. By the way, guys, normally I use a color corrector. I love color correctors, but that's because my go-to foundation is the Skin Tints. So we're using full coverage today, therefore no color correctors. With primers, that is definitely something that you need to look in the mirror, figure out your skin, figure out just how it acts throughout the day. And then you will find there's a plethora of primers that will fit your skin. So you're probably not going to end up with exactly the things that I use for my skin, because your skin's different than my skin is different than your skin. So when you're searching for these products, you need to know your skin type and how your skin reacts, whether it's sensitive, it's more oily, it's more dry, redness, discoloration. There's all kinds of skin issues, so you need to figure out yours and then go from there. Next up, we are actually going to apply the foundation. Today I'm going to use the Maybelline Superstay Full Coverage up to 24-hour wear. Again, who's wearing this stuff for 24 hours? That's pretty crazy, you little rebel you. This is a beautiful foundation, and it is drugstore inexpensive. I think it's like $10 and some change. This really gives you that flawless airbrushed look. But another thing that helps you achieve that is the tool you use to put it on. This bad boy is a beauty blender. It is clean, and when I say beauty blender, I mean it is the actual beauty blender brand beauty blender. There are lots of different makeup sponges out there. I will say I haven't found one that works as well as the beauty blender does. Also, you can use a makeup brush, but with full coverage I wouldn't suggest it, because when you use a makeup brush you are moving the makeup all around as if you're unintentionally trying to shear it out, and it also gives you more chance of leaving streaks. When this bad boy, you just press it into your skin and the beauty blender does the work for you with your foundation placement. Also, I did just clean this beauty blender and actually all my makeup brushes. So make sure you're using a clean tool, whether you decide to use a brush, beauty blender, or your fingers, which with full coverage I wouldn't suggest it, but hey, you do you. These things, fingers, blenders, brushes, they build up bacteria. They have dead skin cells on them. I mean, they hold on to things, but this is a sponge. It's going to retain all that bacteria and everything that's on this. So even if you leave it out, put it in a Ziploc baggie or just in a drawer that's not sitting out in the open. So a clean beauty blender is definitely the way to go to help you achieve that flawless skin. It's these little steps, these little tips and tricks that I'm giving you that really count, that will help you achieve that skin goal that you're looking for, instead of just throwing on foundation without the prep and the cleanliness and all that stuff and then wondering why it doesn't look good. And you guys probably already know this, but if you are using a beauty blender / some type of makeup sponge, it is best for you to go ahead and run it under some warm water and continuously squeeze out the excess water. I will take a paper towel and squeeze out the excess water when I feel like it's wet enough. This clearly is not the actual size like when you purchase the beauty blender. This one is not wet, and this bad boy is wet. So you can see this is holding water, it's holding the moisture. It's going to apply so much better, so much more flawless when it's wet. Okay guys, so I have one pump on my beauty blender, and I'm gonna start the center of the face. And we're going to move outwards and just pouncing it on the skin. I mean, your beauty blender's doing all the work for you. You just got to make sure to hit all the areas. Start small and you can always add more. So that's why I just do one pump to start and add as I go. I always pounce it on the outside of my ears and bring it down the neck. And this is our skin just with the foundation. We haven't added concealer yet. So there's a couple more steps to do, but so far already our skin looks much, much better. It looks even and airbrushed. Flawless. Okay, so at this point in the game, you should be pretty content with how your skin looks coverage-wise. Make sure that your redness that you don't like is covered up, that you've covered up any breakouts, bumps, acne. That should be good and covered by now. We're making sure everything looks smooth and even. And next we are going into concealer. This concealer is definitely lighter than the foundation. Why? Because I want to brighten the center of my face, add a little depth, a little dimension, because right now we just look very, one tone. So we're gonna add a little more shape to our face. This is the CoverGirl True Blend Undercover Concealer. It is in the shade Buff Beige M150. And I'm going to highlight under my eyes, center of my nose, a little bit on my forehead, upper lip, and chin. So just like a baby heart, or I call it the lowercase T-zone. Just like that, or as my boyfriend likes to call it in his voiceover, war paint is on. And I'm just gonna take that same beauty blender and we're just gonna do the same thing, push it into the skin. I also push it onto my eyelid because concealer makes a really great eyeshadow primer. And I look up to make sure I get into any fine lines, creases. Your makeup tends to build up there quite often. So just make sure you're blending everything out. Okay, so our concealer is on, foundation is on. We are looking a little funky, but we are getting there, guys. We are getting there. The next step, and one of the key steps in ensuring that your foundation looks flawless, airbrushed, beautiful, and stays flawless, airbrushed, beautiful all day is going to be setting powder. This bad boy right here is the Coty Airspun Loose Face Powder. This is a wonderful, it's a great setting powder. I'm not a fan of the smell. So if the smell really bothers you or gives you a headache, I would definitely stray away. But the product itself is really good. It's a beautiful product. But before we do that, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna look into the mirror and just make sure everything, before we set it down and concrete this, we're gonna make sure everything looks perfect, how we would want it to stay. Because if you don't, and then you put this on, well, it's gonna be, you're gonna have to wash everything off and redo it. We're just making sure everything looks good, pressing it in a little more. Definitely pressing in the places that normally would break up for you or that would crease. So like your eyelids, under your eyes, maybe if around your nose, if it doesn't stay put very well. Smile lines, forehead lines from where you make your facial expressions. These are just pretty basic spots that people tend to have problems with. So I would go over and make sure that's looking how you want it to look and how you want it to stay throughout the day. This is the product itself. You get a lot of product, and I think it's like $5 and some change. It comes with this little makeup poof puff thing. I don't like it. I don't use it. May as well just throw it away, but I haven't yet. May as well just throw it away, but I always tend to just keep things together. I don't know. So we're gonna set this aside. The smell, don't like it, but it's that good of a product to where I will still use it. Okay, so now's the time. I am going to take the same beauty blender and I'm going to dip pointy side down, but I mean, you can do it however is the most comfortable for you. I'm going to pick up product and press it onto my skin underneath the eye, and I always make sure that I am looking up so that way it can get into the fine lines that pretty much almost everybody has from just being human and looking around. Once again, we are going for, I'm going to put on more than I normally would just for the sake of the video, but I'm telling you why, because any spot that you would normally, maybe after a couple hours or whatever, you normally look in the mirror and you're like, man, every time my makeup never stays in this spot. That's where you want to put setting powder. And it's mostly places where you move your face just naturally. So once again, smile lines, around the crevices of your nose, under your eyes, forehead lines. We're just going to go ahead and put that on there. Any spot that bothers you that does not stay put when you have on makeup, that, oh my gosh, I was walking around like this. Any spot like that, you're going to want to set with a setting powder. Okay, so we've got all this powder on. We are looking pretty crazy, but let me explain. So the reason that we put this excessive amount of powder on our faces is because our skin gives off heat. And when we put this ridiculous amount of powder on our face, that heat gets trapped in between your skin and the powder. It cannot move. Therefore, it is literally baking the makeup onto your skin, hence why we call it baking the face. And hence why it is a fabulous way to ensure no budging, no movement, no nothing from your makeup. We're gonna leave this on for maybe 10-15 minutes. Something I like to do is if I'm doing like a really bold, vibrant, or an eyeshadow look that takes time, I'll go ahead and I'll do it while I'm baking. That way if I have any fallout from the eyeshadow, the powder will catch it and I can just wipe it off instead of messing up my base. If you don't have an issue with your makeup moving or budging or it just always looks flawless, get out. No, I'm just kidding. But if you don't really have that big of an issue, you can always just take a small makeup brush, a small fluffy one, not a precise one, or you'll probably mess up your makeup. And you can grab your powder with that and simply just swirl it on, making sure that it stays blended. And this will help set it as well, just not as much as baking your face will. Normally I use a bigger brush, but this was already in my hand. So we are, you know what, forget that. I'm gonna grab a big brush. This bad boy is the It Brushes number 202, and I'm just going to sweep it off. It is not a harsh movement, but you're just going to sweep it off your face. Now your makeup is baked on. You are ready to do your eyes, your lips, bronzer, whatever else you want to do, or just leave like this. I don't hate it. But I am going to finish the rest of my makeup and I will be right back. Okay guys, so this is the finished look. I didn't really do much because this video is about the foundation and how to make it look flawless, and I think we did a pretty good job. I threw my hair up so you guys could see everything. I'm not trying to hide nothing. This is me. But one more step. We are going to set it down with setting spray. We have everything looking the way we want it to look, I hope. And this is just going to be that last step to ensure that your makeup's not going anywhere. This is just going to finish everything that you've done. It's going to hold it down. So this is from Wet n Wild. It was like $4. I know it was less than $5. It was something that, you know, so ridiculously cheap that it was like, well, it doesn't hurt if it doesn't work. So I got it and I actually really love this. I feel like Wet n Wild gets slept on all the time. Wet n Wild is a really good brand. Of course, every makeup brand has its misses, but they've got a lot of hits. And this setting spray is one of them. Okay, you guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a couple cool tricks and tips and your makeup looks just as flawless as you've ever seen it. If you don't get it right the first time, I certainly didn't. Keep practicing. Practice makes perfect, guys. I think of all the advice and the tips and tricks that I gave, I think just keeping at it and continuing to practice is the #1 thing that you should definitely do. And know your skin. Okay, that's enough. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Join my beauty YouTube family. Ring the bell. Hit that thumbs up button. And I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.